Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Brothers and sisters, welcome to the Encounter program. I'm your host, Mark Kimpland, the pastor at the Endwell United Methodist Church. I love stories of inspiration. I love stories regarding perseverance and having the call of God placed on one's heart and see how that transpires over a lifetime. And we have a very special guest with us for our show today, a guest that I met back in March. Daniel, I did not know much about Daniel, but I know quite a bit more about him now, and I was struck by his story. I was struck by his witness. And when I did meet him, I knew that I wanted to make sure that he was a guest on this Encounter program. So it is my honor and my privilege to introduce to all of you today Danyal Mohammadez. And he is the pastor at the Valley Falls United Methodist Church and the Living Hope United Methodist Church in Waterford. Danyal, thank you for accepting my invitation to be here today, and welcome to the Encounter program.
Thank you, Mark, for having me, and I'm so excited I am with you today, and I'm so excited I am here, and I have a chance to speak with you and your audiences.
Awesome. Glad you are here. One of the things that struck me when I first met you was, of course, your story, but also, and we'll move towards this, God's call leading you forward, which is, I think, just so very, very exciting. Can you take us back to, you are from Iran, and that's where your story begins.
Oh yes, I am
in that time and place. I did share, and I do want to put a plug in before you get started. I did share with my congregation at the Endwell United Methodist Church your video that is on the conference website, and anyone can go to unyumc.org and get a brief snippet of your journey. But take us back. Take us back as far as you'd like to go, and so glad you have this opportunity.
All right, thank you. Yes, I am from Iran, and I usually say I ran from Iran.
Okay.
I have been a journalist and a human rights activist in Iran since 2005. In 2009, we had a controversial presidential election in Iran, and Iranian government decided to shut off my newspaper, to close my newspaper, and they put me in a solitary confinement for about 65 days. That was a very difficult time for me. That was a very small cell, no window, and you didn't know what would happen tomorrow. Yeah. When they released me from that solitary confinement, one of my friends and I, we decided to go to Turkey to have a break there. Turkey is like Canada for Americans.
Okay. For
For Iranians, Turkey is a great place to have a break and vacation. When my friend and I, we were in Turkey, U.S. Embassy contacted us because our name was on the Amnesty International list because we were arrested in Iran and they knew about our situation. They contacted us and they wanted to know more about human rights issue in Iran, about political prisoners in Iran, because Iranian government always denies there is any political prisoner or there is anyone in jail because of his or her opinion. So they wanted to know more about political prisoners in Iran, and we accepted to meet US officials if the meeting is confidential.
Yes.
And they promised to us, yes, it is a confidential meeting. And we had several meetings in Turkey. That was in August 2009.
Okay.
I went to Iran after those interviews, after those meetings, and my friend, he got the admission from Sorbonne University in France, and he went to France. Everything was fine. After 2 years, my friend who was in France, he contacted me and he told me, Daniel, you should leave Iran immediately without asking any question. That was a very shocking moment for me.
Sure.
And okay, I just bought a ticket from Mashhad, my hometown in Iran, to Istanbul in Turkey. I was in Istanbul after about a day, and US Embassy contacted me again, and they told me our meeting in 2 years ago that's supposed to be a confidential meeting has been released on internet through Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. So
here you are.
Here we are.
Yes, yeah, oh my.
They offered me asylum.
Okay.
I did not accept it because if I have dual citizenship, I cannot run for any office in Iran. So I decided to wait, and then State Department offered me a scholarship and a student visa. I came to US, to Albany, in New York State in November 2011. And I did not know any word in English, so I started to learning English first. And then I transferred 90 credits from my first bachelor, which was bachelor in law, to study for the second bachelor in SUNY Albany. The major was journalism and minor was religious studies. Why religious studies? Because those 90 credits that I transferred from my first bachelor was related to religion.
Okay.
My bachelor was law. Law is based on religion in Iran. So my minor was religious studies here in SUNY Albany. To complete my minor, I had to take 2 religious studies courses, 2 more religious studies courses in SUNY Albany. And one of those courses was Bible study, 3 credits course. That was the first time I had a chance to read the whole Bible, Hebrew Bible and New Testament. And when I read and I learned more and more about Jesus, I found Jesus is a human rights activist too. Jesus is a reporter too.
Yes.
And he's reporting the good news.
Yes.
So he's a colleague. I was very interested about his lifestyle and his teachings, and that was the point in my life. I felt a new window, a new world in front of my eyes has been opened, and I want to be a Jesus follower.
So what was your religious practice prior to that, from in Iran and such things, prior to coming here? Can you touch on that a little bit?
I was born and raised as a Muslim.
Yes.
And until the age of 22, 24, I was Muslim, practicing Islam. Then I decided to be an atheist.
Okay.
I thought the religion, the interpretation of Islam that I received doesn't work for me. I do not say Islam is bad. There is no one Islam. The interpretation of Islam that I received did not work for me.
Okay.
So I decided to be an atheist. And so I always say I converted from atheism to Christianity.
Okay. Now, I'd like to just go back, if I can, just for a second, back to being a reporter and such. And you were arrested and all of that. What was it specifically then in Iran that, with reporters, and what were you reporting, and how legal was that? What was it that got you in that mess in the first place?
Speaking about social, we do not have the First Amendment
Yes.
that you have. We
Yes.
do not have that
Yes.
freedom of speech. And I was writing about women's rights
Okay.
and about social justice in Iran. Women's cannot even, they cannot, I'm looking for the verb.
Take your time.
They cannot choose what they can wear.
Okay.
They have, when they go to streets, when they go to public, they have to cover their head, and they have to wear specific clothes when they go to public. And we have many educated women with higher educations, more than men in Iran, but unfortunately, few of them only work in higher positions in different offices in Iran. So when I saw my mom and my sister, I saw there is no differences between me and my sister and my mother. They are even smarter more than me, and they are. So why they cannot have the rights that I have?
Yes.
So that was my motivation to be a journalist and write about social freedom, about women's rights, and the government didn't like it. So they put me in solitary confinement. They arrested me several times, and in solitary confinement, that was a very, very difficult experience for me. I remember after the first week I was in the cell, I just closed my eyes, and that was a very small space. I just walked in this small space, and I imagined I'm walking from my home to my office, or I'm walking from my home to a park.
Yes.
And I repeated all the poems that I memorized. And that was a great spiritual experience for me to survive that difficult and harsh situation.
Sure, sure. Friends, we're joined today, and so glad that we are, by my brother Danyal Mohammadez, who is the pastor at the Valley Falls United Methodist Church and also the Living Hope United Methodist Church in Waterford. So you find yourself then here in Albany, going to school, and you're reading the Holy Scriptures. You're reading the Bible. Take us through that. Certainly the first time of understanding the life and the ministry of Jesus. Take me through that. What were the revelations or the aha moments as you did that for the very first time?
The Sermon on the Mount, the verse that says, "Blessed are people who are peacemakers,
Yes.
because they are called God's children."
Yes.
I have been a human rights activist, a peacemaker in Iran, and I believed in nonviolence. Jesus is my role model as a nonviolence leader, and his teachings as a nonviolent method to change the world. I found very interesting point in Christianity. I think in our religion, in our tradition, peace on earth is not a fantasy. It's a reality. It is God's will.
Yes.
And Jesus wants to bring God's will on earth. Jesus wants to bring peace on earth. And it is a reality. And it is our task as Christians to be peacemakers. And that was the very important point and moment for me to decide to be a Jesus follower. Because it has been my dream. I was born in the Middle East. Middle East is not known right now because of delicious hummus. The Middle East is known because of conflicts.
Yes.
Right now, it's a center of conflicts in the world. Every child who is born in the Middle East has a dream of peace. I had a dream about peace. Jesus was a Middle Eastern child. He had a dream about peace. So when I read about peace on earth as a reality in Christianity, I thought, okay, it is a lifestyle that I want to follow. And that changed my life. When I was released from my the prison, I had many traumas. I was tortured physically and emotionally when I was in solitary confinement. And so when I came out, I had many traumas.
Sure.
For example, my interrogators, they used rose water as a perfume. And when I was out, one day, let me tell you something. One day, my wife, she bought a dishwasher soap with the smell of rose water.
Wow.
And when I'm the person in charge of washing the dishes in home. So when I started washing those dishes, suddenly all of those bad memories came to my mind.
Sure.
And I have there are several signs that brings me back those bad memories.
Yes.
But since I have decided to follow Jesus and his spiritual practices, I do not have that bad feelings anymore.
Good.
Every day I wake up, I feel I want to dance. I have found peace in my heart. Before I decided to convert to Christianity, I had a hole in my heart. I had a black hole.
Sure.
And Jesus' love and God's grace has filled that hole in my heart. So if one day I wake up and I cannot dance, I will convert to another religion.
So there you are. You hear the good news of Jesus, and you've read the Bible, and knowing that He is the peacemaker, the Prince of Peace.
The Prince of Peace.
Where did you go from there? What did you do with that knowledge, with that wisdom, with what we call in the church the good news? Where did you go? Where did you go from there?
I decided to learn more about nonviolent methods, and learning more about the ways that can bring peace, happiness, and joy in the world for the people. Before learning about these teachings, I knew what does mean joy, what is the meaning of joy. But after that, I discovered and I understood what is the meaning of delight. The peace and Jesus' teachings, the joy, the delight that Jesus offers to us is a reality for our personal life and for social life. It is not about only the personal holiness.
Right.
It leads us to the social holiness.
Yes.
And that was another reason I decided to be a Methodist.
Yes.
And John Wesley and his interpretation of Jesus' teachings was very helpful to me, and I found his interpretation of Jesus' teachings is a great way to change the conflicts in the Middle East. We have had many wars in the Middle East. Civil war, Arabic Spring, the war in Iraq, the wars in Afghanistan,